might have to go to trial in the future. We all knew those cases would be dismissed, but the box that I think the Department of Justice found itself in is, yes, we know Donald Trump's DOJ will do the wrong thing, the corrupt thing, the unjust thing, and dismiss those cases. So we're going to go ahead and preempt it, and we're going to dismiss them, even though we have no good factual or legal basis to dismiss them. So Garland said, we're not going to release Volume 2 publicly, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to release Volume 2 to the bipartisan leadership of both the House Judiciary Committee and the Senate Judiciary Committee so they can perform their all-important oversight functions of other branches of government. And Trump-appointed Judge Aileen Cannon said, no, I'm prohibiting it. You're not doing that either, in just a naked, transparent, benefit that she was bestowing on Donald Trump. So now here we are. The cases have been dismissed. Volume 2 has never seen the light of day anywhere, but now Volume 2, with all of the evidence of Donald Trump's classified documents crimes, is sitting in the hot little hands of Donald Trump's Department of Justice. So what do we think might happen to all of that incriminating evidence? I think the question answers itself.
Right. Glenn, what would have been the repercussions of Jack Smith or Merrick Garland just releasing Volume 2 regardless? Like knowing full well that this case was going to be dismissed against Walt Nauta and Carlos de Oliveira, and just going ahead and preempting it regardless, and just saying, let's, here's the report.
Possible contempt of court. Once Judge Cannon, although I maintain she had no authority and no jurisdiction to be deciding any issues in the case, because she was deprived of jurisdiction the minute the case was appealed up to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. I mean, we're living in the legal upside down because the rules of convention no longer apply. But here's the thing. Once, she issued an order saying, I'm prohibiting the Department of Justice from releasing Volume 2. Had they done it anyway, they could have been brought up on contempt of court charges. And given that those charges, Brian, would be prosecuted by whom? Donald Trump's Department of Justice? You think they might have stuck?
Okay, then with that said, knowing full well that Donald Trump's DOJ was going to come in and that there was no chance that his DOJ would continue to prosecute Donald Trump's own co-defendants, Nauta and de Oliveira, let's say it's November 6th, the day after the election, what should Jack Smith and Merrick Garland have done in this instance?
I think the practical thing, the prudent thing, and the pro-democracy thing would have been to dismiss cases that everyone knew would be dismissed the minute Donald Trump was sworn in and took control of the Department of Justice, and then released Volume 2 of the Smith report. That would have been the pro-democracy thing to do. Water under the bridge, but Merrick Garland, when he was making decisions at all, they all seemed to be bad decisions that defeated the prospect of accountability and, upholding the rule of law.
Well, look, I would argue that those decisions even started well in advance. I mean, we knew that Judge Cannon was going to be an impediment to justice from the very beginning when she interfered on Trump's behalf, and yet at no point, even though you and I have had dozens of episodes demanding for that motion to recuse so that a nakedly partisan judge who is in the tank for the defendant wouldn't be able to preside over this case, but they had no intention of doing that. So all along, there seemed to be steps that they could have taken that would have obviously benefited them, and yet I don't know whether it was just erring on the side of, okay, we don't want to give any optics of politicization, or we don't want to get or we would rather defer to timidity as opposed to an aggressive posture. I'm not sure what it was, but there were opportunities, not just with what happened in the immediate aftermath of the election and the Jack Smith report, but there were opportunities even earlier in this process that they should have taken advantage of if they really wanted to be aggressive and make sure that justice was actually carried out. That didn't happen.
Yeah, it was DOJ timidity. It is, the inclination of the institutions of government to forever cater to the ruling class criminals, the most powerful, most influential, most connected people in our nation and in our government. And you talk about opportunities lost, Brian. We could probably do a 10-part episode, but think about this. They negotiated with Donald Trump, who was basically holding hostage some of our nation's most closely guarded national security secrets. They negotiated him month after month after month after month, where if he was anyone else, they would have had a warrant, they would have busted down the door, they would have secured the documents, the evidence of crime, they would have made our nation safe, they would have put the offender in handcuffs, and that person would already be serving life, very likely. They missed the opportunity to do all of that, to hold Donald Trump accountable, because remember, Brian, it pains me to say this, these crimes were committed after Donald Trump left the presidency, so guess what? No presidential immunity for you, Donald. That case should have been prosecuted, convictions should have been returned, he should have been sentenced, and all of that could have happened a year ago, 18 months ago, and today we would have a law-abiding government, which we clearly do not have, given everything we are seeing being reported about what's going on in the Trump administration. Donald Trump is ushering in the age of governmental lawlessness in America, and he wants everybody to suffer.
Glenn, you spent 30 years as a federal prosecutor. Do you think that a scenario like this, where very clearly it was put on full display the extent to which timidity at the DOJ resulted in a scenario where Donald Trump and his lawless band of cronies was actually emboldened and really a lack of justice won out at the end of the day? Do you think that would in any way signal some type of a sea change at the DOJ with regard to how they adopt something of a more aggressive posture in prosecuting some of these high-powered, high-profile offenders?
Yeah, great question. If our institutions are capable of learning from their mistakes, and frankly, they may end up being democracy-ending mistakes given where we are right now, then I would love to say, yes, the Department of Justice and other agencies of government can learn, can improve, can become aggressive. Being aggressively enforcing the law without fear or favor, there's nothing wrong about it. There's nothing unethical about it. Indeed, it is the failure to act boldly and aggressively in accordance with the facts and the law that, keeps the rule of law viable. It gives it life. But the timidity of DOJ declining to go after the ruling class criminals as aggressively as they might go after a bank robber or a car thief or a drug dealer is one of the reasons, and this has been a chronic problem at DOJ in my experience. I know because I fought against it. It is why we are where we are today in America with a lawless government headed up by Donald Trump.
Where does that sea change emanate from? Do you think, for example, if let's say we're lucky enough to be in a Democratic administration following this one, and the next Democratic president appoints an aggressive attorney general at the top of DOJ, is that all it takes to then create a culture where they're not willing to just, tiptoe around high-profile figures like Donald Trump?
Yes, the leadership of the Department of Justice has to signal that the pass that we give to the ruling class criminals, and when I say ruling class criminals, Brian, those can be government actors, those could be big oil, big pharma, big tech, big entertainment, the military-industrial complex, and lots of others. What we ordinarily do with defendants, people who violate the law that are really wealthy and influential and connected and privileged, is we say, you know what? We caught you doing a bunch of bad shit. So what we're going to do is let you enter into a non-prosecution agreement, pay fines and back taxes and penalties, and just keep doing what you're doing. We're not going to put you in jail. We're not truly going to hold you personally accountable. And what the takeaway is from that, what the ruling class criminals learn, is they can factor into their operating budget those penalties and fees
right.
and
just the
back
cost
taxes,
of doing business.
pass it on to us, the consumer, and they can keep crime